Hi, I'm Michelle from Michelle's Patchwork, and on Facebook it's Michelle's Patchwork and Art. I have a YouTube channel, which obviously you're on, and I'm about to do a demonstration on a quilt storage bag, and it will be a free pattern in the Great Australian Quilts Magazine, and you'll be able to get kits through the Facebook page, and I will also have some up on the website as well, and I'll pop links in the description as well for you, so you can just, tap along and go and find them. So let's get into it. So in the quilt kit, the bag kit, you'll have everything pre-cut for you to go, including your bag, batting, and the front and back. It'll all be cut to size for you, and you'll also have a free pattern in the magazine, and in the kits this will also be in there as well. So I'm going to give you sizes as I go. Obviously, like I said, the pattern is free, and it is in Great Australian Quilts. So I'm going to start with the 32 by 15 inch front and back. I also have the 9.5 by 11.5 for the sides. I have two lots of those, and they are like a sandwich, so front, back and middle. I also have the top and bag, fusible bag batting for top and bottom bag front. So that is these babies. So these, I'll just fluff that out. And they are 2.5 by 12 inch, okay? And then also I have clear vinyl, which will be 6.5 by 12 inch, and also bag batting, which is 2 by a half inch by half an inch, okay? You'll have you'll have extras, so for lining and main fabrics and stuff like that. So as I go, I'll give you more description of what they are. You'll also need a piece of Velcro, which will be 11 inches, and you'll need 2 bits of fabric, 2 inches by 9 inches, which is for the handles. You'll also need 2 inches by 12 inches, which is for the top and bottom of the vinyl, and you'll also need 2 2-inch pieces by 10 inch for the sides of the vinyl. And you'll need bias binding, which I have pre-cut, and you'll need around about 100 inches of that, plus you'll need a 2.5 inch by 40 inches for the bag front and sides of binding, not bias. And the bias binding is 2.5 inches wide by 100 inches. So now I've done that, and I've got the drawing. I'm going to also talk about the paints as well, but we'll do it in little increments, and we'll get on to the first step. So won't be a minute, we'll be right back. So what I want you to do is, first off, is layer your three pieces with the foam together. So your large piece, I'm just going to give this a little bit extra iron. So back, middle and center lining together. You can have different colours. There's no right and wrong. If you don't have an iron-on one, like, that's fine as well. Just place it in the side and you can quilt it. You can baste it down. Either is fine. And if the batting is a little bit larger, don't stress, you can trim that out later. No big deal. Don't stress the little things. So I'll just give it a good iron and get your 3 layers together. So I've got the 2 smaller ones, I've got the squarish ones, rectangular, those 2, and I've got the large one done. And I've also got my handles to do. So for the handles, I'm pretty sure it was these. Just double checking. 9-inch, 9. Yep, these ones. Place that down the center of each one. And you'll be folding that over. I might actually just turn it over, do it that way, place down the center, give it an iron first, and then I can fold the sides in. It probably will stick a little to my piece, but that's all right, it'll peel up. So the handles are the 9" by 2" pieces. I'm just going to move that over. And what we're going to do, actually I'll use that. I'm just going to turn that under a little, give it a quick press, turn it around. I'll lift that up a little, it's a bit crooked. Turn that over, about an 1/8 of an inch. Just turn them over, and then I'm going to place that up there on that side and the other side to meet, so they are like that. And give them a press, and then we will stitch that down. Oopsie days. You got to put your foot on it to hold it down, by the way. And we'll do this to the other one as well. So once you've done one, we will do the other, and then you can clip it if you want to in the meantime, but that will be then ready to stitch down. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that to the other one, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've clipped one together. I'm making sure that the fabrics overlap each other, and I'm just going to clip the ends just to hold them in place for when I sew. I'm using little binding clips, and they're also available on the website, which is good. They're nice and cheap, and they are reusable over and over again. When you're using any kind of faux or clear vinyl, you cannot use pins, because pins will make holes, and that is a no-no. So we've got them ready, and we're ready to move on to the next step. So first of all, you grab your large piece, and on one end of the short side, we're going to measure 2 inches down and make a mark at either end. You can rule a line. This is a air erasable, water erasable will work as well. Doesn't need to be there for very long. And you can draw that line across there. It will disappear, but it'll stay there long enough for me to do what I need to do. So 2 inches down from one end, and then from that line you go 10 inches, then another 10 inches, and that last bit there should be 10 inches, which it is. So we go down here, 10 inches and 10 inches, and you can then, my little lines are moving a bit quicker than I am. I might get a water erasable. Bear with me, and I'll swap pens over. Okay, I've actually used an iron off one, so couldn't find my water erasable. So now I've drawn a 2-inch line, a 10 and a 10. So 2 inches, and then from here to here, 10 inch, from there to there, 10 inch, and that'll be a 10-inch end. So now we need to take this to the machine, and we need to stitch along these lines and then do a basting stitch all the way around the edge, and I'll take you to the machine. I'm also going to stitch these handles ready to go, and then we'll move on to the next step. So bear with me while I move you to the machine. Okay, so I'm at the machine now, and I am ready to sew these areas in, these lines, and I'm just going to fold that up, and off we go. do one, and I'm going to repeat that exact same process for the other two. So that you can see straight away it wants to fold, which is fantastic. And make sure that thread is under the foot. Always handy. And a little thread. There we go. The noise you can hear in the background is actually the dogs. They've found some bones, so I apologise for that. I can't take the bones off them. So I'm going to do the other two lines, and I'll be back to show you the handles. I've also stitched around the outer edge 1/8 of an inch around, and that will hold those 3 layers together. Once you've done that, if you've used a iron off pen, you can then iron off those marks. I'm going to just trim that and pop that aside, and we'll get the handles. Okay, now this is a top stitch, so I've got the stitch length at around about 4, so I'm going to try and scooch that in a bit. Sorry about the hand. No, it won't do it, so we'll go in here and let's do that. So place that right under. You want it right on that fold. Try and hide those, like that join. Just go slow. You don't have to go 100 miles an hour. Just want to make sure you get that join stitched. I'm using a black thread. You would use a thread that is suitable for what you're doing, what you're making. You can trim that off. And if you want to do another couple of stitches, you can, like have 2 or 3 stitches going, on either side. You can do that. That'll be fine for the little handles, as long as it holds on. Doesn't come apart, that's the main thing. And that's those 2 done. Okay, so we've got 1 done, 2 done, they're ready to go. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. So now you need to take your 9.5 by 11.5 inch pieces, and you've ironed the front and back onto the bag batting, and we are going to stitch around these and baste them in 1/8 of a stitch, 1/8 of an inch I should say, and that will hold them in place, and I'll do that and come right back. Okay, so I've done that. Now on the long side, so you've got a 9.5 inch and 11.5, so find the long side of your piece and mark across that at 9 3/4 inch. So 9 3/4. So here, and then do the same at the bottom. 9 3/4, and draw a line. And then do the same to the other one. So 9 3/4, 9 3/4. And then draw a line down there, and then we are going to stitch across that line just like we did on the other one. It's a folding line, and then we can move on to the next step. Okay, so we've done that. I've stitched those on both them, so then you can pop them aside. They're your sides. Then this is the top and bottom of the vinyl, the clear vinyl. So you will have 2.5 by 12 inch, and you'll make them into a sandwich. Again, like I said before, we ironed them together. I haven't stitched around these ones, not necessary. And what we're going to do is place one top and bottom of the clear vinyl. So first things first, let's just start with one side, and we're going to clip, don't pin, and don't stress about that. We're going to cover that up. So don't sort of freak out if it's not, you know, exact. That will be covered up. So we're going to stitch along here, and that is going to sew them together. I'm going to turn it around. We're going to put that on. Now, if you've got a right and wrong side, like your lining is a different colour than your front, then you'll need to make sure that your lining is facing towards you and the front of your fabric, your front fabric, is facing towards the vinyl. Okay, so I'm going to sew those on there and there with a 1/4 inch seam, and come back to you and I'll show you how we're going to cover that little seam up. All right, so give me 2 secs and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've sewn those down, and then I've grabbed my 2 inch by 12 inch pieces that I had cut, and I've now clipped them to the vinyl side, so the wrong side, and I'm going to stitch that across there a little bit further in than my 1/4 inch stitch on each side, and then we're going to turn those over and cover up that seam, so which is nice. So that means that we won't have that visible seam. So I'm going to do that now and come back and show you the next step. Okay, so once you've got that sewn on, then I had a bit of a fight with it. Then you fold the, so that would have been like that. Okay, you fold that over, so you've still got those foamy ones facing you, but you bring the 2 inch one towards you, or outside. Fold it up to the edge of the foam and just finger press it across, and then fold it over again, and you're going to need to do that. So you fold it up to that, then you literally fold it again so it folds over. So I've gone up to there, and now I'm folding it again, turned it over. Oh gosh, it's hard because it's stiff. So get that in there and push the seam that way away. And just tuck it all in. You cannot use pins, unfortunately. I mean, you can try. And that is going to give you a binding along that top edge. Hopefully my machine doesn't play up on me. It doesn't seem to like, I haven't put the Teflon foot on, and without the Teflon foot, she's not happy. So when you're using your clear vinyl, it is better to have your Teflon foot on. So I'm going to be holding that as I go, and I'll top stitch there and there, so 1/8 from the edge of the vinyl, and then the top here just to hold those layers down. I'm going to do the exact same thing to this side, so flip it over, fold it up to there, just finger press it down. Or you can iron it if you want to, but you've got to be careful with vinyl. Okay, and then flip it back. So you want to have that seam going away from you, which is hard, and then tuck it in and fold over that, fold that seam over. So tuck in and fold over, tuck in and fold over. And I'm just going to clip, like I say, each end. You could get a pin in there because there is plenty of fabric and foam. Let's see if I can find one. I don't have many, because I tend to use clips all the time. If you add iron to that, you are going to melt the vinyl, so don't be tempted. But that is top stitch both sides of that, and that will hold that down and be your start of your frame of your and hide that vinyl join and of the vinyl, and then we're going to put the sides on. All right, so I'm going to go and sew these two quarter inch, 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the vinyl and the edge of the fold. Okay, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've done that, and I did swap over my foot to a vinyl foot. It did stitch better, or Teflon foot. Didn't really like, it was sort of missing and doing some weird stuff, so I swapped it over and it's ready. You're going to do the same colour as your fabric. So my thread is only showing because I need you to see what I'm sewing, so you can see that I've done the top and bottom stitch. Now get these two side pieces with your piece of vinyl and place one underneath. Now that's with the stitch that you've made on it, so that foldable part facing underneath. Okay, this will be a little bit bigger, that's okay, and just center it a little best you can, and put a clip on either end just to hold her in place, and then get one of your 10 by 2 inch pieces and place it along the top. Now make sure the vinyl comes up to the edge. We're going to clip these in place. Don't use pins because you've got vinyl there. We will trim off that side. So we're going to stitch along here and then fold over and do the same thing again. And then we'll repeat that for the other side, but I'll go and do this side and then I'll show you how I stitch the other side at the machine, but I'll do this and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got the second side clipped. Make sure that when you open it out that is going to fold over the same side as you did the other one, same way as you did the other one, so it's not on the back. But yeah, that's ready to go. And I've got my Teflon foot on, and I'm going to do a 1/4 inch seam. Oh, I need to change my stitch length. And stitch them down together, those 3 layers. Okay, then open it out and fold that in. All right, bear with me. Fold that in to there. Get a bit of a fingy press like that. Then fold it out, and you want to tuck it under like that. Put a clip. Both ends. And you can put a pin in there. I've got some pins, but they don't always play nice. There we go. Alright, and I'm going to sew 1/8 here and 1/8 here, and that will complete that process. So I'll do that on camera so you know what I'm doing. And I'm top stitching, so I'm putting the stitch length up to 4.5. Now I am doing this on an industrial, but it will work the exact same on your sit-down machine. The first one I did was on a sit-down machine, so it'll be fine. My sit-down machine is at Toowoomba in Queensland, ready to go for a show, so I can do demonstrations, so I don't have it with me. handles. Just cut off all your threads because they're annoying. And you now have that like that. And that is a part of your front. Okay, so I'm going to just pop that aside and we'll do the next step. Okay, the next step is to put the bag handles on. So we've got them stitched. You can double stitch this, like if you want to, single stitch, whatever you like. I'm just cleaning up the ends a little. I have trimmed my front so that it's even. Well, as even as it's going to be. And I am going to measure 3 inches down from the top of the side. This is the side of the front, like the front's there, this is the side. So 3 inches down on either side and 1 inch in from the edge. Well, yep, the edge. So where's that 3 inch mark? There it is. So here, and the other one, we're going to measure 1 inch from that fold, which is that stitch mark, and we're going to come here. And that is where your handle's going to go, just like that. So you can, here, you can turn that under, you can just sew straight over it, straight down. I'm going to turn mine under a little, and I'm putting the center of it there on that mark, that 3 inch mark. And this is where I would need pins, so bear with me, I'll grab some pins. So place that under. I'm just going to turn it over. So I'm turning it over so the fold is underneath. I'm going to turn that under, probably around about 1/2 inch. I'm just going to pin that in place. My pins decide to play nice. They are. And same that, 1/2 inch under, and place that there. And again, put a pin in it. And I'm going to do a square on either end of those, and I'm going to repeat the same for the other side. 3 inches down, 1 inch from the edge of that stitch, so we want 3 inches down, 3 inches down, 1 inch from there, and 1 inch from the other end. Okay, now I'm ready to pop this one on. Again, fold it over a little. I buried my pins, where'd I put them? Oh, there they are. So, place a pin in just to hold it. It's very stiff because I've got the bag batting in there, a couple of layers of. And I'll fiddle with that as I go at the machine, so it all stays under. I'll do the same to this side. And again, like I say, I'm going to fiddle with it with the machine. I'm going to do a square on either side, and that should be enough to hold that on. You could do a larger square, come out about 1 inch or 1.5 inches, go around a couple of times. It's up to you. One should be enough for me. What I want to do, and I'm going to use a normal size stitch, so a 2.5, so I'm going to bring you over to the machine and show you how I do that. Okay, so I'm popping this under, line it up, there we go, needle down, change your stitch length, and I'm going to go forward and back. And I'm about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the fabric, just so you know. And I'm just going to turn that over so I can see. I did have an issue with my stitching, but like I say, this is a sample piece. It's not so bad for me, but you guys, you might want to make sure your stitches are nice and neat. Take that away. I'm going to go along here and I'm going to eyeball it. About where that foot finishes. Lift up, turn. Along. And make the seam meet up. Okay, and then cross over. You can do it a couple of times, so that'll give it a little extra strength. It's good to have a bit of extra strength. It's going to take a bit of weight, and you can also do the crosses. You know how you do a crossover. And I'm just going to back stitch and needle up, trim that off. And that one right off. Stitches look good. Okay, so I'm going to do that there to each one of them and come back and show you the next step. Okay, so I've popped the handles on the front now. I have the bag center, the front, back with the 3 folds that we've done, the big piece. And I have a mug, and from that point there where I've sewn, I'm just sort of scooching it, and I'm going to put a mark on either side to create my curved corners, just like that. Then you can use your rotary cutter if you like, or you can use your scissors, whichever one suits, and just trim that around, just like that. Okay, all done. So now we have curved corners. Then we are going to pop the Velcro on here. That is your flap, so it goes over the front like that. So we're going to pop the Velcro on now. So I'll go and grab my Velcro and be right back to do that. So now I have the Velcro cut. I've cut it at 12 inches. It doesn't matter whether you have that sort of pointy side or the fluffy side to the top or this. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to use one and I'm going to place it in the center, sort of where that fold is, oh sorry, the curve starts along there, and I'm going to stitch around the edge of that and stitch that down, and then I'll do the other side. So let me just pin that in place. One thing I almost forgot to mention is don't forget to allow, we're going to put binding on this, so don't forget to allow for that as well. So give yourself a good 1/2 inch. Yeah, it's a good 1/2 inch from the top. And I'm going to bring the camera over and show you how to sew that on. Okay, so I have it pinned in place. I've still got my Teflon foot on. That won't hurt. And on, just on the, just in from the edge, I'm using a small stitch. And I'm going to 2.4, 2.5 is okay as well. And I'm just going to stitch that down, trying to keep it as even. You could draw a line. Either would be okay. If that's a little bit longer, don't stress, it's no big deal. Go to the end and turn it. And those pins out of the way. Turn it again. Now, if you don't want to see this stitch, because it's going to go right through 3 layers, if you don't want to see that, you don't have to. you can actually sew this on before you sew it, glue it down and all that jazz, like at the start. At the very start, you would sew that onto the front, or the inside of the lining, sorry, my bad. Personally, it doesn't bother me too much. But yeah, if you're using a thread that is the same colour as your fabric, it's not going to be a big deal. Like I say, I'm using a black thread, you can see it, but it's no big deal. It just sort of blends in. Okay, so that's one side, and now we're going to get ready for the other side. And to do that, I need to just sort of force it down so that that top no, we can't do that. Sorry, my bad. We're going to do that on the top of the windowed one. My bad. So I nearly did it wrong. There we go. Almost. Okay, so that's going to go along here. You could cut it down a little bit if you wanted to. You don't have to have it as big as that. I'm going to just sew it straight across, and I'm going to come down from the top because I literally want to make sure that I've got room for my binding. So that is that step. We're going to do that now. So I'm going to bring it, just overlap it a little. So it's probably just on 1/4 inch down. I might trim it to the edge of that bit there. I might have cut it a little bit long, so as I get closer, I will do that. I'm just going to hold it in place. Back stitch. It takes a lot of pressure. These Velcros, they cop a lot of pressure from pulling and tearing, so make sure that you back stitch. Again, turn it around, trimming as I go. I'd also suggest not to use an adhesive Velcro because it won't really like the it won't really like the glue. Sorry, just put my foot down. So that is that one, and that is now Velcro done. Okay, so that is the front of the clear vinyl, not the inside, the front. So when the flap comes over, it Velcros to here and holds it nice and firm. And we're going to put some binding along the top here in a minute, and then join these two big pieces together, and that will be in the next part of this. So I'll be back very shortly as I reposition everything and show you the next couple of steps. Okay, so just taking that away, I've got the front piece out, and I have popped the binding, the non-bias one. I've folded it in half and ironed it, just like that. And I've popped the raw edge against the raw edge of the top of this front and sides. And I'm going to stitch that along there and fold it over and top stitch it down. And then I'll come back and show you how to join those two pieces together, the center of it and the sides and the front. And then we can do the binding on the last bit of it. Okay, so we'll be back in a second. Okay, we're at the machine and we are going to sew this on 1/4 of an inch. All the way along. If you're using a sit-down machine at home, you might need to use a walking foot at this point because of the thickness of the fabric. It could become an issue for just a general foot. Trim that off. And trim off, oh, that's the dogs underneath. Trim off that end, the excess here and the excess here. And your threads. And turn that down. And then what we're going to do is we are going to turn that over to the other side and just clip it down all the way along so it's reasonably even. I have, in the meantime, off camera, trimmed this, I think I told you that, just so that it was even. And when I sew this part down, I'll be sewing in the ditch, or as close as I can get, and that will catch the back. Okay, so let's do that now. Just an FYI, I don't like sewing in the ditch because I'm not really very good at it. So if I come close, I'm happy. Okay, I've stitched that down. And that is now sewn on the other side. I'm going to trim off my excess threads. And we're now going to, while I'm at the sewing machine, join together our bias pieces. Now, I did cut out of the kit, so I actually cut whole heap of bias pieces to join together. These are batiks, so they don't really have a right and wrong side. To join together, you will need to, even though they've got a bias edge, I'm still going to cross it over like I would any other binding. And I'm going to sew from the top left corner across to the bottom right corner. Let's just pull the thread. Oh, yeah. And sorry about that, that's the dog, sorry, I apologise. And then I flip it over so I've got the right side again, put the right sides together, and again do the same thing. Wait. Penny. And I'm just going to chain stitch this a little. Sorry about the dogs, they're making lots of noise. And again, from the top left to the bottom right, so across there, and this, I'll trim those little bits off. And then I join the next one. Trying to find that bone to stop him from making all that noise. And chain stitch that along until I get that top left, lining up the corners, straight across, flip it over, grab the next piece, do the same thing, line up that corner, and down to the bottom right. Flip over, hit the last one. I think that's the last one, yep. Line them up. Yours might not have the point on, that's okay. Just line up your straight edge. Just lift that up a bit, it's grabbing. And down to your bottom right. Now, trim off your threads. Trim them apart. And trim off that thread. And then what you want to do is trim up a little, a 1/4 inch, and across, and do that to each one. And that's just waste, and that will join it together. So come up from the bottom, level, come in 1/4 inch, cut across, and then cut along the top. So up from the bottom, across, and the top. Now I cut these at a bias, so 45-degree angle across the fabric. You've got enough fabric to do that in your kit and have probably a little bit left over. So if you do make a boo-boo, there are ways of getting around it, and it's no big stress. Now, that's those. That's all them done. That in there. And we're going to take this to the iron, and you can see it's got a bit of stretch in it. We're going to fold that over, wrong sides together. I'm going to press these first because they will get my way, and then we'll fold it over, and we're going to put those raw edge together, and we're going to press that. So I'm going to do that off camera and come back and show you the next step with the bag joining. Okay, so I've got my binding ready to go. It is folded, pressed in half, wrong sides together, and it's the length I need it to be, which as per instructions. And like I said, that will be in the Quilts Australia Magazine. Now, clips. We're going to need clips. So, this is your top here. Okay, that's your top. The flap goes over this. So, go to the opposite end of that flap, and with the lining and the linings together, so wrong sides together, you've got a line where you have that fold. So clip that there and clip the bottom to the bottom front to the bottom of the center. And we're going to sew along from here to here, that line, right, from there to there, but stop a 1/4 inch before and start a 1/4 inch before that line and back stitch at either side. So I'm going to take that to the machine and I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, also have to mention that I did trim this big one back so that it measured between these points here. I didn't want it to be bigger, so if you do have to trim it back, don't stress, just give it a trim back so it measures this, the width of this measures the same from that stitch to that stitch, okay, which is your folding stitch, and it will work out really, really easily. So coming in 1/4 of an inch from the edge of that folding seam. So there's a folding seam, and there is my needle. So about 1/4 inch. I'm about 1/4 inch from the edge of the fabric. Needle down. Do a couple stitches forward and a couple backwards. And then stitch along. And before I get to that folding seam that I've made, I'm going to stop 1/4 inch before and back stitch and trim off. If you've given it too much, like more than 1/4 inch, don't panic. You can always come in and retouch it up before you do the binding. Not enough will actually be an issue for when we do the next part, which is this. So you go and grab the side. So there's your front, okay, with your clear. Grab one side and folding that front bit out of your way. Grab that corner where that fold is and put a clip in there. And this needs to end here on that folding stitch line on the big piece. Go down. And we're going to do the same to the other side. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to flip it around. It can become a little bit cumbersome at this point, but it's not too bad. So grab that point there with that up in there, and I need clips. Clip in there, and I want it to go up to that seam, that first fold seam on the big piece, up to there, and then clip in between. And you'll need to stitch those again. You'll need to stitch 1/4 inch from the edge of that stitch fold line and right to the end of the top, okay? So on the first bit, make sure you come in 1/4 inch from that seam. Sometimes I have to start a little bit in and go backwards. Oops, my thread's come undone. Okay, we're back. So a couple of stitches forward, then go back to 1/4 inch before, and then back again, and go all the way to the end. But don't forget, you still got a back stitch. Got a little bit of a crease there, but I don't think that's going to matter too much. And we'll do the same to this side, but this one I'm going to start from the fold, the open side. And again, like I said, back stitch at the start and finish. Penny. And finish 1/4 inch from the seam of that fold from the front. Trim it off. Penny, come on. Okay, and now we are ready for the next step. Oh my goodness, so I've just told you to do something wrong. At this bit here, come back in 1/4 inch. So just trim that a little, because you've got to come 1/4 inch. Penny, I need that to stop 1/4 inch before, so I'm just going to fix that up now, and you will see how I do that, because you've probably just done the same thing again as what I've done. So a bit of a back stitch there. Forgot that, so we're not at that point yet. Do the same to the other side. Penny pen, what are you doing? Just trim that little bit there, that we allow ourselves that 1/4 inch. Okay, so there we go. Okay, next step is to grab the side or the middle folded bit of your big piece to the side of this one, the side piece, and again you're going to join Penny, come here. That fold line is going to be in the corner, and you're going to clip there like that. We're going to go across and clip that in. Come here, pen. Pen, come on. Up down. It should be about an inch from the top there. On the other side, we're going to do the same, exact same thing. I just had to check what I was doing then. Exact same thing. Alright, now we can sew from the top of here all the way to that corner, and we can start at the top, give ourselves a back stitch, 1/4 inch seam, and straight down the side to that corner and stop a 1/4 inch before. Penny, come here. Oh, someone's just come home, so she's a little bit excitable, and just stop there. One thing you don't want to have is your stitch to grab the stitch from the other side. So you don't want this stitch grabbing that stitch there at the bottom. If it does, it's going to make it hard for you to do in the next step. Come here. Good girl. You're a good girl. I know, someone's home. Alright, we're going to do the same to the other side. Push all the excess out of your way. You might have to start in like I did before, just so you got some room to get your needle in there. I'll go back a bit, actually. Didn't quite far enough, I don't think. A couple more stitches. There we go. Up to the top. See, that's going to get caught over. There we go. And back stitch. Needle up and trim off. Okay. Excuse me. Alright, so now we are ready for the final bit, and I will move the camera and get you ready for that. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're going to grab our bias binding and we're going to clip it all the way around. So we're going to go from all the way around here, down the side and across here, across the front, down the other side and back meeting again. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to show you how to join your binding. And yeah, so I'm going to start on the side of the flap, giving myself a good tail of around about 6 to 8 inches, and that allows a little bit of movement or room for movement. So just clip around, and when you get to the corner, because it's a bias, it should just go around nicely. So just a couple of extra clips. There we go, just nicely. And continue around until we get them almost joined together. So I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, before I show you the final piece and putting it together, I thought I'd show you how to do a corner. So when you get to the first corner, put your thumb there and turn that long piece and make a 45-degree angle so it goes like an L shape. And then flip it back on itself so it comes back down this way, and just put a clip in that corner just to hang on to it for the time being. And then we're going to keep pinning on and do the same to each corner. Okay, so I have now got them almost at each other, so you can see that they're almost joined. I'm going to trim off this side, the short side, and I'm going to open that up like that. I'm then going to get the long side and flip that, like put it over the top of the short one, so just straight over, and I'm sort of pulling it a little bit tight. Grab this open piece and line it up with that one underneath. And then take my scissors and I'm going to clip or trim that long piece off right there. That means now I can actually make myself a bias join rather than tucking it under. You can tuck it under if you want to, like if you wanted to tuck it within each other, but if you want to do a proper seam, then you're going to need to do that. And what I do is I always test it, so I always put like, I go, right, that's how it's going to be. When it turns out they're going to be the right way around. Easy when you've got fabric that is easy to tell right and wrong, and you would literally just grab one. Normally use pins, not clips, because pins hold a bit better. That one there. Line up the side and line up the top. And sometimes I've got to move them out of the way. And you would then go from the top left to the bottom right and stitch that on, cut that off, and when you pull it open, it should be right. So let's go to the machine and test it out. Okay, so I've got the two pieces ready at the machine. I open them up so it looks like an L. So I've got one going that way and that way. And I find the top left, and I put my needle down, and I sew to the bottom right, just like you did before. Now, the temptation is to literally cut the fabric straight away, blah, blah, blah. It is best not to when you first do it. I've opened it up, so before I cut that excess away, this triangle bit, I'm opening it up so I can see that that is going to sit nicely. So I can now trim that. That's excess, and just pull on it, put some clips in. Sometimes you might need to just encourage that seam to sit right. And we're going to do a little bit bigger than a 1/4 inch seam, and I'm going to sew all the way around this piece, and I'm starting at the side. So let's do that now. In we go. Foot down, a little bit more than a 1/4 inch. And back stitch, and off we go. Velcro creeps grabbing my jumper. As you get to the corners, you're going to need to do a couple of stitches, lift and turn. A couple of stitches, lift and turn. And because I've got bulk over here, I'm going to try and keep it out of the way. Let's, Sometimes doesn't always work. So that's the top curve. Just go around it easy, nice and steady. Lift and move. I notice I'm starting to get a little bit of slack in my binding. That could be an issue at the end. I'll deal with that when I come to it. If you do get that, don't freak out. It's really quite an easy fix. I can put now, if I wanted to, a crease in the corner. That would work. Not that I'm going to. So I've gone around the two top curves, which is fine. And now I'm on the straight run until I get to the bottom corner. And like I say, I've got a little bit of excess. If you want to, you can cut and rejoin. I'm going to show you how I fix it when I come to the end. Now, when I come to this first corner, because I'm going to have a bit of gap here now, I need to make sure I still only come and stop and go backwards a 1/4 inch from the end. So I need to know where my seam is and make sure that I don't go past that 1/4 inch mark or it creates havoc. Lift up your needle. Turn it sideways and get that corner. Right, put that out there. Goodness me. Okay. So fold it up, fold it back down. Make sure that top fold is level with that side bit there. Okay, so I've just refolded it because I've got a bit of slack in there, and I am going to come from the end, like the edge of the fabric, and just sew straight down. Just move my thread out of the way. Foot down, needle down. And make sure the bottom of the bag is out of the way when you're doing this. You do sort of have to manipulate it a little bit. And then we should be able to just go around the next two bends really easily. Make sure you haven't got any creases happening in there. And as you come up to this corner, you sort of want to flatten that out a little as you come into it. There we go. And get up to that 1/4 inch mark. Back stitch. Lift the needle up, go the other side, again, come on thread, in you go, needle in the down position in a second, when I get that in, There we go. Pull it up there. And I'm just going to make sure that that inside, I can feel inside that that corner bit is not sort of, you know, bundled up under there. And continue sewing. Like I say, it can be a little bit tricky. Same to this corner when I get up to that 1/4 inch sort of section. Go back a bit and go backwards. Come out. Might have gone too far on that one, but I'll deal with it. And turn it sideways. And make sure that thread is under. Get it under your machine. Come on, you little darling. In you go. There we go. And from around about a 1/4 inch from the end, just follow that around until we get to the other corner. The worst part of this is we've got to sew this again. So get to that corner and stop a 1/4 inch from the end. I might need to snip that one. Went too far. Okay. Flip that up like we did the last corner, like any sort of mitered corner. You flip up one side. I know you can't quite see me at the moment. So I flipped it upwards and then turned it over that way. And I'm going to sew. Now I've got to make sure that I have that edge bit under. Don't sew on the don't sew on the wrong bit of fabric, which I almost did. And we're going to sew from a 1/4 inch from the end there. We're going to sew up. Okay, just make sure we're good. Okay, so we're almost at the end and I can see that there's a big loopy gap here. Now, if you were worried about it, you could trim, tuck in, or you could do another seam. It can be difficult to do another seam, so if we just do that, okay, fold that end over like that. And then get this one, lay it inside. Okay. Now, if you're doing something for a show, obviously you're not going to end your quilt in that way. This is a cheats way. Just end off this little project that we're doing so that we can move on to the next step. So, all right, let's sew that up and meet the same seam that we started with. Alrighty. We'll soon see how well I did on those corners when I try and turn it out. I'm just going to trim my threads because I'll get in the way. And when we turn it out, I can see I've missed a little bit on that one. So if you do miss a bit, you'll know because you've got that little edge there. So you do need to come in and grab that edge. So however you want to do it, you need to do it. So I'm going to push that out like a triangle. No, push that in. Yeah, I think we'll push that in. stretch that bit out like a triangle and try and get a little bit further in, up in that corner. This one did fight me a little bit before, probably because of the thickness. And like I say, a walking foot will be a lot easier. So if you need to do those little, nips and tucks, just do them now. And what we're going to do now is just fold over our binding like we would any other project that we're binding. Just fold it over, and we're now going to put that all the way around with the clips and top stitch around there. So I'm going to do the clipping off camera, and we'll come back and top stitch together. Okay, so the last step for this is to sew down the binding. I've clipped it all the way around. You can do this like by hand if you want to. I would be using a thread that matches as a general rule, but for the project, like I said, I'm going to use the black thread that I've got in my machine so you can see what's going on. I have made sure that I have covered that stitch on the other side. And even though I should be stitching in the ditch, I'm going to come just in a little because I want to make sure I grab the other side. So here we go. When you come to the corners, stitch right up to the other side, turn it around so you grab both sides. I mean, this is going to be on the inside of the bag, so it's not too bad if you make a bit of a muck up. Don't freak out about it, it's not that big a deal. And I can't see what's going on the other side at the moment, so I'm hoping it's grabbing it. We'll soon find out when I turn her over. That's why with this one, sewing in from the seam will actually help make sure that you grab it. If you don't like that look, you don't have to. Oh, the Velcro keeps grabbing me. And like I said, you can do it by hand if you so desire. Oh, have I run out of bobbin? Oh, I did. Just after that corner. Bear with me and I'll pop a new bobbin in. Okay, we're off and running again. groaning is my dog snoring. At least they're asleep now, not chewing bones. Just double checking it was sewing this time. Alright, I'm nearly back to where I started, so I'll trim that thread that I started with and make those seams join up. And needle up. Trim that off, move them all out of the way, and let's have a quick look at what we've got. So I'll move the camera. Okay, so let's turn it out the right way. Get your corners. Oh, I've got a long thread. Get rid of that. Push your corners out like that. Gosh, I hope I did that the right way. Oh, I didn't, but that's okay. I'm going to take that off. I've put it on the wrong side, silly woman. So I'm going to take that off now and pop it on this side. That'll take 2 seconds, so I'll do that now and return with it properly. Okay, all fixed. Sorry about that. So then push those corners out. They sit nice on the inside. You can do it so the binding is on the outside if you so wish. Either is fine. Okay, and you would give them a bit of a press so that they sit nice. You could also stitch that again, almost like making it like a French seam, but it just seems like more work than I need to do. And then that then flips over here. Velcro's on the side there, and you've got yourself a quilt box with a clear window. How cool is that? Got the handles. You can store fabrics in there. You can store anything you like in there. Nice and easy. You could also put a handle on the top, but I felt that it might pull that up if it was on the top, so the sides were better, I figured. So yeah, so that is that. Now the next step we're going to do another video on is the painting. So we're going to paint that, and I'll have another video for that, and it will be called Painting the Quilt Storage Box. Okay, and that will be with the design here that comes in the kit, and we'll get to it. So I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.